Welcome to part 8. First thing I just want to get out of the way is we made a new feature called, what do we call it? App user, I think. Yeah, where are you? App user. Where are you? Where are you? App user. So what I want to do is actually move, because we kind of did something in core that really does feel like it should be part of this app for obvious reasons. So let's actually go to core and let's grab this qubit here. I'll open up our app user feature. And the qubit will still go within presentation. So we'll just drag this here. And it's going to move. And hopefully, a lot of the time, VS Code does a pretty good job at getting all the imports fixed, which it looks like it did. So we'll just do Option Command S. We'll save all files. And let's just rebuild because stuff kind of got really whacked there. And let's just make sure it still worked. There we have it. We are good. We are logged in. Everything's good. So now it's just in a more logical place because the feature is called app user, and that's the name of the qubit, and it makes sense. So I do want to reiterate, although auth and user are very interrelated in some ways, to me the difference is auth is more about authenticating, like proving that you are that user, whereas app user is more about I am that user now, and show me my profile and let me, do things about my, not about my actual login credentials potentially, but maybe updating my bio or that kind of stuff. So that's kind of the difference here. All right. So lo and behold, we are ready to move on to registering. So let's do that. Hopefully we'll be able to fly through this because it is, in some ways pretty similar to login. There's one major difference that you'll see. Aside from the fact that we're capturing, also a username, there's something else we're gonna have to do, which we'll get to. But yeah, let's kind of figure this out, and we will again start within our auth feature, inside the domain, inside repositories, and let's actually make our register. So I'm just going to copy this, and actually, let's just put current user at the top. We've kind of been doing that, and let's keep logout at the bottom. To me, that makes sense. So let's just do register with email and password. And again, the reason I'm being this verbose is because in theory, you could easily set up logging in with a Google account or an Apple account or, et cetera, et cetera. So we're just going to make these very specific. And here, the only other thing we need is a username, which we'll just do that. Okay, and then we're getting this error here. And, if I just go to my problems tab, I can easily click this and go here and go quick fix and create the missing override. And let's just move this to the most logical place, which to me is here. Okay, so we'll do that and have this ready for us to go, but we're not ready to do it yet because, again, we have to go to our data source, auth data source, and we're going to make a new thing here. So let's copy this. Log in with email and password. This will now be register with email and password. And similarly, we will also have a username passed in. And yeah, if it seems like I'm going too fast for this, it's because, we've already kind of done this before, right? And I don't want to waste people's time. And if you haven't seen this before, go back to the other videos because otherwise you might be, this might be too fast. Okay, so we have that, cool. And we need to do the implementation of that. So let's figure out what that would be. So we need to talk to, similar to what we do for login, we're actually going to talk to our thing here. So I'm just going to actually copy this and grab this here, but instead of trying to authenticate them, we actually are going to call something else, which is, I think, sign up. It might be register, maybe sign up. Create account. Create account. Here we go. Right here, we are going to create an account, and this is something that's specific to Serverpod in our case. What we're actually doing is we're creating an account. We're creating a create account request because there is sort of a two-step process here where we actually need to essentially get a code back when we register. And we saw that a few videos ago when we were using the dummy stuff. And then we'll get a code and then we'll go. So with here, the actual things we need to pass in is the username, email, and password. So although we're doing a different order, I like our order and I'm just going to conform to them by doing that. So we get our result and we of course want to check, maybe the result is false because this is actually this is not going to give us a user back. This is just going to give us a success of true or false. And here we're just going to throw a const server exception, and could not create account, perhaps. Otherwise, we'll just return true from here. And I do want to actually wrap this in a try catch, as we normally have been doing in this file. And we can do, and if there's an error, we can actually go and throw another server exception. And this time we can use e.toString. Now, the register, like I said, we're not actually going to get a user model back at this point. This is just kind of like, hey, I want to create an account with this email address. So we're actually going to be returning a bool here. And we are going to, return true. We threw, and let's just see what is complaining about. Oh, it's because in our in our actual thing here, we need to update this to also be a bool. And then we should be good. Okay, great. So we have that, sort of figured out. Now, just so that we're not like flipping between things so much, we're going to also figure out what's called the confirm registration kind of at the same time. So let's do the data source one first, I guess. So this one, let's start with our thing right here. This will be a future, and this will return a user model, and we're going to call it confirm registration. And I'm not making this specific to email or password because as far as I know at this point, there's still the same flow regardless of whether you signed up with, your Gmail thing or whatever. So we're just going to make it, generic that it could work with any. And if we have to change it in the future, we will. And what this requires is actually a string of the email address that the user is using. And that's where that code would be sent to. And then what they also have to give us back is the verification code. Verification code, let's call it. And that's all we need for that. Then let's go here and let's click this and go create the missing override for us. And let's just move this to the most logical place, which is under the register right there. And here we are going to essentially make this work. So similarly, we'll do final result equals await, and we'll await our client.modules. And before I forget, let's just get our async in here. Client.modules.auth.email.create account. So create account is actually what we need to do here. And what it takes is an email and a verification code, hence why we set this up in this nice way. Let's just, while we're at it, try catch E, and we'll return, or we'll throw, not return, we'll throw a server error with that error if something went wrong. But in the case that result worked, so let's just do if result equals, well, let's just check if it's null first and short circuit out. So if it's null, we're actually going to throw another server exception here because something went wrong. And we're just going to say user was null, mostly for our purposes. And yeah, because this is a user info. Otherwise, what we want to return here is our user model, right? So we'll do our user model, and here we would use result.id. I'm going to use result.email, even though we could probably safely use this one. Let's rely on what the server is saying their email is, and result.username, which obviously we need from the server, which can't be null. I believe it can be an empty string, but it can't be null. So we should also check, just because we're putting in these exclamation marks here, we should check if result.id is equal to null or result.email is equal to null. And let's just throw something like this, ID or email was null. I don't think this will ever happen, but let's keep it safe. Okay, saving that. So now we have our confirm registration and our register stuff figured out here. And that's on the data source. So let's go to our repository again. So we've already created the register with email and password, but we also need to have the one for our confirm. So let's get that out of the way. I'm just going to copy this. It's pretty similar. And we'll just call this confirm registration. And it'll still need an email, but instead of this will be a verification code. Save that. We'll go back here. So we're in our implementation now. And let us go and create one missing override. Put in a lovely comma here. It's my favorite thing to do. And in here, well, what do we want to do? Well, we'll still wrap it in a try catch as we've been doing in this file. And we'll do on server exception. We will catch a error. And here we can just return left that there was a failure, and we can take the e.message right there. And we need an async written right here. Now, right in here, simply enough, we're just going to go await data source dot confirm registration. Email and verification code, cool. And let's just go final user equals this. And this is a user model, so now we can just return write and actually send back the user. You notice that this is a user model and this is a user, but we're conforming to it because user model extends user. And we see that pattern a lot in clean architecture. Okay, so we did the confirm registration, and I believe we kind of got ahead of ourselves because we didn't actually do register with email and password. So let's move this down here, the logout, and right here, instead of throwing an unimplemented error, let's do something similar, and we'll do on server exception e, and we'll return a left of what do we do down here? Let's just copy it. All right, and try. What's wrong with this? Oh, I don't have the word catch. Catch. And this needs to be async. There we go. Okay, so in here, we'll just go final, maybe success is equal to await data source dot register with email and password. So we pass in the email, the password, and the username. So yeah, when we use the right names, everything just kind of auto-completes for us. It's super nice. And basically in here, this is going to be, either true or false. So we can go if success, we can just return right, and we'll just return true. Then, otherwise, we're going to return left, and we can do a failure, and we can say the message is maybe could not register for whatever reason. This can be a const. And we're seeing an issue here because really register with email and password should not be giving us a user back. It's going to be giving us a bool as a success. So we're good there. Then that means, we have to go to our auth repository and make sure we fix that too. Our register is actually just going to be a bool that comes back. All right, that deals with our data source. It deals with our repository. So we're good there. Let's go to our use cases and let's make a new use case called user register. Dart. Just take our user login. I'm going to copy everything and we'll just rename this to user register use case. And this will actually be called user register params. And we need one more thing here, right? We need the username. And we want to update this here and update this. Oops, copy just that. Boom, boom. And then we actually do the register with email and password. And here we actually just need to pass in username, which will come from our params that are being passed in, .username. And this should not be returning a user. It's going to return a bool, which means we also have to update this. So that's when it's a success. There we go. Okay. So that deals with our register use case. And let's also deal with our confirm registration use case. So I'm going to copy this again. Dart. And we'll just rename this to user confirm registration use case. And this will actually get a user back when there's a success. All right, and that will be a user. And then here we actually want to do confirm registration. Now the params are not going to be that. They're actually going to be called user confirm registration params. And we can just get rid of username here, and we can change password to be verification code. And this will be verification code. There. Keep all the names the same. Everything's like super easy to just replace. Okay, now we have our two use cases. Great. Let's register this new stuff in our dependencies. So we'll go to wherever we're doing our use cases, and I'll put these here. We'll have user register use case and user confirm registration. Oops, user confirm registration use case. Just pass those in like that. And then I'm going to get ahead of myself here, and let's actually pass in user register, which I know doesn't exist yet, and user confirm registration. And I'll just grab these guys here and just change these to user register use case, confirm registration use case, and let's take a look at our auth block, and let's pass those two things in. So we want user register use case, user confirm registration use case, and we'll call this, let's just make sure I call these the same thing, user register and user confirm registration. And we'll just grab these guys, boom, and do that. Cool. Then we're going to have our two different, oh, we need to actually make these events still, so let's make those events. Let's go to our auth events, and we need to make, I guess, at least two events here. So let's copy the login one because it's pretty similar, and we'll just call this auth register event. And yeah, instead of this, we'll have username. It's the one additional thing we need. And then let's copy this again and we'll call this user or auth confirm registration event. And we only need this, and this will be called verification code. Verification code. Where we're going with this. So now we'll just do this, and actually let's put this at the top, just the auth is logged in, and let's copy auth login and change this to auth register event, and let's also do auth confirm registration event, and we'll call this on auth register and on auth confirm registration. And we'll make these two things, so command dot create method and command dot create method, and let's just get these in the right order that we like. So these should be before logout. Okay, great. We are looking pretty good here. All right, for our register event, we will just go final result is going to be equal to await user register, which is just a reference to our use case. And we need to pass in user register params, and we can get those by going event dot email, event dot password, and event dot username, trailing comma, something something, and we want to make sure this is async. So there we have that. And right here we can basically do our similar fold sort of thing. So let's go results.fold, and we're going to have a failure here. And in this case, as normal, we're going to emit a auth state failure, and we'll pass in failure.message. Nothing new there. And for write, now what is this? This is actually a success, so we could call this success. And in here, we can go, if success, then we want to actually do something here, we'll do to do. But if not, basically if for some reason failed, I don't think there's anywhere in our code we actually return a false, but maybe we would update them at some point. So let's actually do that. And let's just do could not register as our sort of thing. And I need to actually omit this, of course. So let's omit it. All right. So what happens when this is a success? I don't have the user yet. So we actually need, I believe, one more event that I wasn't thinking about when we made our events. We need an event that's basically like, hey, at this point in time, the user needs to check their email and put in a code. So we're going to make a new event called, I'm going to call it auth confirmation required event. And that's essentially what we're going to broadcast here. So let's go emit auth confirmation required event, which is good. something is strange here. My bad. It's not an event. We need to have a new state that essentially requires this. So let's get rid of that and let's go to our auth state. And here I will grab one of these and let's have a new auth state called auth state confirmation required. Okay, now our confirmation required, for reasons that I will try and explain now, what we actually want to do is in this event actually store the user's email and actually store their password temporarily. And the reason for that is we want to make sure after they do confirm that we can log them in. And in order to log them in, we need to talk to Serverpod sending up an email and password. And I hate apps and sites where like you register and it's like you check your email, you click a code, it's like, great, you registered. Now log in, and then you have to remember what your password is and whatever. So I just want to do that on their behalf. Therefore, we'll actually have a string for their email that we can store in here and a string for their password. And of course, we need to then, make a constructor where we require these things, required this dot email and require this dot password. And semicolon, save, boom, go back here. So what we actually want to do is broadcast this, and now we can essentially pass in the email here. And luckily, in this event right here, we actually know what the email is. And for password, same thing. We know the password because when they tried to register, they gave it to us. So yes, we're storing their password in their own app, just in memory. It's not being stored. We're not storing it anywhere in a database or on a server or anything. There's no issues with doing this. If for some reason you feel like this is insecure, like you could of course not do this way and just make them have to type it out again if you want. And maybe if it was like a banking app or something, then yeah, sure, maybe that's a better way to do it. But in my opinion, not that I'm like a security expert, there's nothing insecure about this because we're not actually like going and saving it somewhere remote. It's still just like in memory. Okay, so there we go. We are now doing that. Now, we will have another event, obviously, which we already kind of set up here. Let's make it async before we forget. And let's go final result equals await. And this will use user confirm registration. We'll call that. And we need to do the user confirm registration params. And here we can just go event.email and event.verification code. All right, great. So we're passing those things through. Then what we want to do is similarly fold on this. So result.fold. Now, what is our result right now? Well, it's either a failure or a user, so that's good. So let's take our failure and as normal, maybe I can just grab this from somewhere else because I'm sick of typing it. Yeah, auth failure. Let's just grab this and put this right here. Boom. We do our failure, and then this in this case is a user. And here, well, we can reuse what we used before, which is our where we actually emit the auth success. So let's go like that, and we can do our emit auth success, passing in user and passing in our emit function from above. So then that will already handle, this doing the success event, but also updating our qubit to have that user. All right, cool. There's one piece missing as I'm thinking this through because technically they won't be logged into this point. We still need to do that in the data layer. So rather than not in the data layer, but in the domain layer, in the auth confirm registration, right now we're just kind of like confirming the registration, cool. But what I actually want to do here is first confirm it. So we're not going to return this yet. We're going to final, and we're going to say confirmation result equals this. So we await it. Then what we can do is actually go and return await confirmation result. And because this is a future, an either, we can then fold on it. So let's go dot fold. And we might have a failure here. And when there's a failure, we actually just want to return that failure, basically just left failure. Cool. Now, if it's right, this is where sort of the magic happens and the reason we needed that stuff. We are then going to return an await of the auth repository again and do the login with email and password. And here we actually have access to the email and password because params.email and params.password. like that. And it's because my whole plan here was actually to also, when we're setting this off, is to actually keep that password in memory. So we'll do this.password. Then everything's good here. And we return that. We have to make this async here and have a semicolon. So basically, when there is a success on the confirmation, we're then going to try and log them in with that and just return that, which luckily our login with email password is a failure user. This is a failure user too. We kind of designed it that way on purpose. Okay, so we do have an error here, and it's because this is now saying, hey, I need access to the password. So let's actually pass the password in, and we can do that by going event dot password. Sorry. And over on this event, final string password, we're going to require the password to get passed in here. So we're kind of like, passing the password a few times through, but it's really just to kind of give that good user experience where they don't have to like re-log in. So now we have event.password, everything's good, and I feel like there might be one place that we see if we have any problems. No, we don't. Okay, I guess everything's good. We're passing the password through, and everything is great. So let's make a register page now. Register page.dart. Okay, this is going to be very similar to the login page, and I don't want to waste anyone's time on typing that all out. So luckily, I found on my clipboard this lovely bit of code here. Let's just import some things that we're going to need. Make sure we get that from material, and I'll walk you through all the stuff, and then we'll add the actual implementation, which was not on my clipboard. Okay, there we go, and login page.route. And I think we use colors.pink for this. Okay, there we go. Okay, so here we have, I'm just going to walk you through it. It's very much like the login page. The main difference is we have one extra controller here for the username. And we are using, the same kind of block consumer as we were in login, where we're checking the state. We have a listener, nothing in it yet, but we will. We have a builder. We do have, when it's loading, just to show the loader. Otherwise, we are, showing this. And maybe actually we should do what we did before, where if auth state is auth state logged in, is that what it was? Auth state success. Then we'll actually have a size box, just so we don't see the form pop back in just for a millisecond as it's being animated to the next page. Then we just have our basic form here, all that kind of stuff. So let's start with this right here. So we'll validate the form, and then we'll just do context.read, and we want to now read the auth block. We want to add, and we're going to add a user register, I think it's auth register event. And here we just need to pass email controller.text.trim. We'll trim that one. Password controller.text we won't trim because, again, their password might have a space in it at the end or the start. And username controller, and we'll trim that one because .text.trim, because we don't really want, things, usernames to have a thing. Ideally, you do some stuff in the back end. In fact, Serverpod might automatically do that, where it makes sure the username doesn't have some trailing space. Neither here nor there. Let's get this going. So we have our auth register event now, and let's get our register page hooked up to our router. So two things we want to do here. One, let's actually put it here, or three things actually. So register page, and we'll use the register page.route, and just so you know, it's /register as you kind of would expect. We also want to make this part of our public routes because we want people to be able to be on this page. Register page, I don't know why, there we go. Okay, it's done. And then we're good there. Okay, cool. So we have that, and then lastly, I want to do one more thing. And that's basically on our login page. We sort of had this temporary, to do go to register page. Let's just do context.go, and here we will use register page.route. That way we can actually go between them. All right, let's try this out. So I'm going to log out, as you would expect, and we're on a login page, but I should be able to click this and get to the sign up. So let's do Bob Let's call this Bob, and just use the password. Now we'll try to register, and we get something happening. Okay, cool. Let's see if anything happened in our terminal. And it looks like we did. We got a confirmation code. But as a user, I wasn't given a place to actually type this in. So what we actually need is another screen, and you could do this in a different way. It wouldn't have to be a new screen. It could be a pop-up that comes in. It could replace the form, but we're just going to do this as a totally new screen, and we're going to call it the maybe like the confirmation. Okay, so we'll call this register confirmation page because it's the best I got. And similarly, I'm just going to paste something in from my magical clipboard. And let's make sure we import it from material, not from widgets. And we'll get this going again. Auth state. Yeah, oops. I'll get our loader in there. And this is auth state confirmation required is when we would show this. We'll just do our colors dot pink. Okay, so this is very much like login and register. The main difference is we only have one controller, just the verification code itself. We're still doing the same sort of stuff, and let's get this all in motion. Let me close some things and just open up both of these. So first thing, back in the register page, we have a listener, but we're not doing anything with it yet. So let us figure that out. So on our register page, we essentially need to kind of check for some things. And let's just go if state is auth state failure, then we'll use our lovely show snack bar thing, and we'll pass in our state.message. Else, if state is auth state confirmation required, then this is where we'll redirect them to our new screen. So we'll go context.go, and we will use our register confirmation page dot route, which just while I'm thinking about it, let's just open up our router because we haven't actually added this to it yet. So let's go register confirmation page dot route and copy this here just so our router is aware of it. So we'll just push to there. Otherwise, if state is, because maybe they somehow get here and it is already a success, which I don't see being the case, but in that case, let's just push them similar to what we do on the login page and bring them to the movie list page dot route. Okay, cool. So that means when it'll start, we'll have this form. Then it will go to auth loading, and then I guess this should be if auth. We don't want to use state success, or I guess we go if state is this or state. There's my Python coming through. State is auth state, basically is confirmation required. We also want to show that size box, and that's just so we don't accidentally show this form after there's no need to type it anymore. So yeah, it'll come here, it'll do loading, and then it's going to hit this listener when something changes, and if we actually get the confirmation required, we're going to push to that screen. So there's our screen here. So let's actually get this one set up and good to go. So similarly to what we did in our register action, on our confirmation page, let me just clean this up a bit. But all we're doing when someone actually clicks the submit button, we're going to validate the form, and then we're going to send this event, the auth confirm registration event, by taking whatever the email is in the state, because we have that within our within the confirmation required state. The verification code we're getting from the controller, and the password we're also getting from the state. And this is kind of that pass-through that I was talking about, so that we can just log the user in on their behalf without having to get them to log in again, which is annoying. So we have that, and then we need to do something in our listener here too. So let's figure out that. We basically want to check again if it's a failure. So I can actually just grab this. Let's grab this guy here. So if we get an auth state failure, let's show a snack bar. Else if state is, and let's do the auth state success, because that's what would end up happening, if everything goes. And now we just want to essentially redirect them to here. So those are the two things we want to worry about here. And let's just save everything. And now let's test the flow of this whole thing. So I'm going to log in. I'm going to go to sign up. We're going to do let's do Bob2, and give him a nice, lovely password. And let's click register. And it seems like it brought us to the login page. So something is up here, but we'll step through and figure out what could be going on. Inkling of what it could be. Let's go to our app router, and let's add the verification, or the register confirmation page. There we go. So let's import that as also a public route. Because I think what happened is we got to that route, and the router was like, hey, you're not allowed to be here because you're not logged in, and it sent us back. So let's try this again. Now, we might be logged. Yeah, okay, we're good. So let's go sign up. Bob3, I'm just going to use different ones just in case stuff's kind of working under the hood. There we go. So we got brought to the confirm email screen. And here I got a code. Again, we're not actually sending an email. That's out of the scope of what we're trying to do here. But we're able to print it here and actually paste it in. I will allow paste, and we'll click verify. And now look, we're logged in because it all just worked. This is pretty nice. Let's just try refreshing and make sure we're still logged in. And we are. And let's try logging out. And let's just try logging in with our new thing, which was Bob3. There we go. So that's it. Like I said, I wanted to get a lot done in this thing. Now there's about two things that we haven't done that maybe we will, maybe we won't. One of them is basically if you noticed, it was only up on the screen quickly, but on the confirm registration page, there is a button for didn't receive a code and then resend, which I just have a to-do here. You know, it's something we could figure out at some point. The other thing that's not really being handled that is probably worth doing, what we're not going to do in this video, you know, we might not even do it at all, is the case where I register, I get a code, I don't actually type it in, close the app, come back, try and log in again with that. We do need to, you know, we are going to eventually have to manage a way to, you know, kind of resend a code and get logged in. But that's kind of like the tidy, you know, nice polish. Right now, as far as I'm concerned, we have, you know, core auth working. We have registration, we have logging in, etc., etc. So we'll leave it there, and I will see you guys in the next one. I think what we're going to get going on next, if I'm not mistaken, is actually being able to create movies through a form, and really all the CRUD, create, read, update, and delete. So we'll see a bit about how to do that, start doing that at least in the next one. Thanks for sticking around, and see you soon.